All right, let's jump straight into this completely captivating and honestly terrifying explainer. Today, we're unpacking a source narrative that is just this perfect, toxic blend of psychological tension and supernatural horror. It really explores what happens when our absolute obsession with capturing the perfect memory totally blinds us to the real physical dangers right in front of us. This explainer is called The Midnight Bride of Rudolph, and I'm telling you right now, by the time we wrap this up, you are never going to look at a camera lens the same way again.
So, how exactly does a fun birthday camping trip turn into an absolute nightmare? Well, to figure that out, we have to look at Arav and Nisha's perfectly innocent 5-year anniversary celebration and how it just descended into total madness. The premise in our source material is pretty straightforward. It was a couple of days before Nisha's birthday, and Arav wanted to do something super special. So he plans this intimate, romantic camping trip under the stars in a gorgeous forest. Now, Nisha actually wanted to bring friends along, but Arav, he insisted it just be the two of them, which, as we'll see, was a fatal choice. He had zero idea that this one decision to isolate themselves was going to alter their lives permanently.
Section 1. Journey to Cursed Rutherpur.
Okay, before the real horror kicks in, we gotta look at the crazy contrast between our two main subjects. The irony here is just profound. So, Arav is a photographer. His entire worldview is literally framed by what he can see and capture, right? He's all about documenting reality and having visual proof that a moment actually happened. But Nisha, she's a writer, and the text points out that she has this deep, almost magnetic fascination with old ruins, spine-chilling stories, and mysterious places. She's drawn to the unseen. It's a fascinating setup, because when they finally bump into the supernatural, Arav, the guy who demands visual proof, is the one who sees the horror first. Meanwhile, Nisha, the mystery lover, is completely oblivious to it.
Now look at how incredibly fast things just fall apart here. At 4 p.m., they're driving out of the city, totally pumped for their road trip. Fast forward just 2 hours later to 6 p.m., and they pull into this weird little village called Rutherpur. Almost instantly, this bizarre, unnatural darkness just blankets the whole town. It feels completely abandoned. Every single house has these torches burning outside, blood-red doors, and these super creepy black mantras painted all over them. You can imagine Nisha's heart just dropping. And then, out of nowhere, Arav slams on the brakes. The nightmare is officially a go.
Let's move on to Section 2, the haunted camera lens.
What's so wild about this next part is how the horror doesn't even show itself to the naked eye first. It only appears strictly through a camera lens. Imagine what Arav experienced when he stepped out of his car to snap some photos of those weird blood-red houses. Out of nowhere, this frantic old woman, dressed head to toe in red wedding attire, just materializes right in front of his lens, and she delivers this absolutely chilling warning. She says, the wedding procession is about to leave the bungalow. Hide quickly. And before he can even blink, she vanishes, gone. Arav spins around to look at the car, but Nisha is missing. Instead, he hallucinates this horrific scene, Nisha holding hands with a groom whose face is completely hidden by a veil. His hands are dripping with blood, and they're surrounded by these chanting women in bridal wear. Arav starts screaming. But then, Nisha just taps him on the shoulder from behind, totally normal, asking him why he's sweating and freaking out. The whole illusion just, poof, vanished.
So, the tension really ramps up later that night by the river. They've left the village, set up camp in the forest, and Nisha, just wanting things to be normal, playfully asks Arav to take some photos of her by the campfire. Okay, so step 1. He takes a totally normal photo. The firelight looks great, but when he looks down at the digital screen, his blood literally runs cold. Standing directly behind her in the photograph is that exact same veiled groom. Arav starts snapping more photos, and step by step, with every single click, the groom is creeping closer and closer to Nisha. It gets worse. A panicked Arav drops the camera, Nisha picks it up to see what's wrong, and the photos are totally fine. She doesn't see a groom at all. The haunting is completely isolating Arav. Later that night, he scrolls back through his pictures of the village, and now, that veiled groom is standing outside every single one of those blood-red doors. No way.
Section 3, Horror Month Intermission.
Now, right as the tension is hitting a boiling point, our source text does something super interesting. It actually embeds a promotional intermission for the PVR Enoch's Season of Screens. It's almost like this meta reminder that, hey, we are consumers of horror. It highlights a lineup of movies like Ready or Not, Boot Bungla, The Mummy, Evil Dead Rise, and Who Come. It even throws in a popcorn combo offer if you watch the first 3. It's just a really cool structural choice. It links Arav's literal living nightmare to our own cultural obsession with big screen thrills, giving us a quick breather before plunging us right back into the deep end.
All right, back to the story. Section 4, the glowing bungalow trap. Let's skip to the next day and see how this supernatural trap finally snaps shut on them. And you really have to ask yourself, why on earth would they step inside? Seriously, after all those insane warnings, the terrifying illusions, the creepy stalker in the photos, why? Well, the text mentions that by the next morning, Arav somehow convinced himself that the night terrors were just a trick of his mind. They go trekking, take pictures, have a great day. But as soon as the sun goes down, they stumble upon the same bungalow Nisha had seen the day before. Except, the place that looked like a busted-up ruin in the daylight is now glowing. It's radiating light like some magnificent royal palace, and curiosity just totally overrides their survival instincts, like moths to a flame. The doors are wide open, just waiting for them, and they step inside.
Once inside, they're hit with this massive, chilling contradiction. Laid out in front of them are 56 silver dishes of chapambog. Now, if you don't know, that's a huge, extravagant, traditional Indian feast usually meant for royalty or the gods. But it's all a lie. This grand dining hall is completely empty, and instead of smelling like delicious food, the air is just thick with the suffocating, disgusting stench of dead, rotting flowers. That is the exact moment Nisha finally realizes they are in serious trouble, and she begs Arav to leave.
Which brings us to Section 5, the ghostly midnight wedding. The trap is sprung. Those heavy wooden doors slam completely shut all by themselves. From the top of this massive grand staircase, those super creepy chanting mantras start echoing again, and walking down the stairs is the groom. He's holding this dried-up, withered wedding garland. Arav tries to grab Nisha and make a run for it, but he can't. His feet feel like they're literally glued to the floor. He's completely paralyzed. And then, Nisha's eyes just roll back and turn completely white. All her free will is gone. She starts walking stiffly like a puppet on strings, straight toward this entity. As the groom goes to put the garland around her neck, Arav actually manages to break free for a split second to fight him, but when he does, he's face to face with the groom's horrifying, half-dead, rotting face. The monster grabs Arav by the throat, violently hurls him backward, and then it just proceeds to finish the demonic wedding rituals with Nisha, right in front of him.
Section 6. The Zamandar's Dark Legend.
Then, with just one agonizing scream, the whole illusion shatters. Arav is suddenly alone in the dusty, totally dark ruins of that bungalow. He sprints outside into the village, banging on doors, but the whole place is a ghost town. Finally, he spots that same old woman in red sitting under a tree. He collapses at her feet, just begging for an explanation, and she gives him the lore. Decades ago, this bungalow belonged to a really evil zamindar, a local landlord, and on every Amavasya, which is the new moon night, historically known for having super strong, dark spiritual energy, this guy would forcefully marry a girl, murder her on their wedding night, and sacrifice her to these dark entities so he could live forever. The villagers finally had enough and burned him alive inside that very bungalow. But his twisted spirit got trapped there. So every Amavasya, he waits for a new bride. And tonight, he chose Nisha.
The explainer wraps up with this just absolutely crushing reality. Arav, without even realizing it, hand-delivered the love of his life straight to a monster. The old woman spells it out for him. Anyone who becomes the bride of that bungalow is never, ever coming back to the land of the living. And the psychological weight of that is just staggering, right? Think about it. Arav was the guy who wanted total control. He wanted the perfect memory, so he isolated them in the woods. And he realizes that his own choices walked them straight into a supernatural slaughterhouse. He just sits there, completely broken, crying his eyes out, knowing Nisha is lost to the darkness forever.
So I'm going to leave you with this final thought to chew on the next time you're trying to capture that perfect memory in the dark. If you look through a camera lens right now, are you absolutely sure you are alone? This source material does such a brilliant job using the camera not just as a tool for art, but as this terrifying window into a hidden reality. It's a dark reminder that sometimes ignorance really is bliss. And maybe, just maybe, the things we can't see with our naked eyes are better left undocumented. Thanks so much for hanging out with me for this explainer on the Midnight Bride of Ruthier Pur. Keep your eyes peeled,